Hello everybody, back again. We got this 2100 or 2101 on the bench again. And if you remember in the last video, we put a bar on it and ran it, and this thing, after about 3 cuts, we noticed the muffler bolts were loose, so I stopped, and I haven't messed with it. We're gonna go ahead and get this muffler tore off of this thing and make sure everything looks okay. It was smoking a pretty good bit too, if you remember, and we're just going to check the oil lines behind the muffler and inspect everything, make sure everything's solid. So all seemed to run okay. I could tell it started acting a little weird after that 3rd cut. Because the muffler was coming loose, it started to try to run a little leaner, so I stopped before, it got bad. And we're just gonna assess everything here. I have the right socket here. Get this muffler tore off of here. I did not pre-loosen these bolts. This is how loose they were prior to messing with it. It does have the gasket. That's good. Gasket's in good shape. That's good. That's real good. All right, let's get a little light on the subject. Bolt holes look really good. Piston looks really good. I know y'all can't see this. There's some carbon in there. That's the only thing I see. I mean, it's in the exhaust port. Some pretty heavy carbon. Here, we'll show you. Well, better yet, we'll bring you in on it. If y'all can see, y'all can see. If you can't, I'm sorry. But we'll bring you in and let you look. You can see the pretty heavy amount of carbon there build up. It's been burning. This thing's been running rich for quite some time to build up that much ash. That's the piston here. Bear with me, we're gonna rotate it a little bit and let you see the rings here. Get it down where we can actually see here. There you go, that's a little better. You can see very briefly there. I know it's hard to see on the camera, but there's still machine marks. That's a good shot right there. There's still machine marks on that piston. That piston's in really good shape. This saw made a lot of compression. I mean, it's healthy. But there's those oil lines I was telling you about. It's seeping just a little bit right there, but that ain't gonna cause no major issue. The line's pliable, both lines. That one's a little stiffer than the other one, but they're both very pliable lines. They're both in good shape. What was wrong with my 2100, if you remember me telling you in the last video, I think it was, I don't remember exactly which line it was, but one of them was broke. It was split right in here on one of the lines. I think it was this one. It was split, and I was able to cut it, and I had enough slack still left to be able to put it back on the saw, and that's what saved mine and got it oiling. But that's good to know. This thing's in good shape. It wasn't ran with loose bolts for a long time. The decal or the model tag for this saw. That's where we're at with this thing. I think the reason why it started to run a little funky was because of the muffler coming loose, but thankfully we caught that, because that could have been bad. Muffler's got some carbon in it as well. No big deal, because we're going to modify this thing anyway, so not exactly sure which way we're going to go with it, but I've got a couple of ideas on how I want to do this thing. But we'll worry about that at a little bit later date. Now we're gonna have to tear this thing back apart so we can get the degree wheel set up on it, get some timing numbers, and decide what route we're gonna go with this thing. So y'all stay tuned. That's what this video here is gonna be about. We're gonna get this thing torn down a little bit and get that degree wheel set up, and we'll bring you along for the ride. All right, here comes the fun part, the boring teardown. Y'all just watched me put this cover and stuff on in the last video, so here we are taking it right back off. It's just part of doing this. But I don't know, it can be enjoying sometimes. I like when I'm not rushed or pressed for time. I like just working at my own pace here. It's nice to, this is kind of relaxing to me to work on saws. It can be kind of a stress reliever too, just depending. Sometimes it adds stress, but I'm not complaining. I enjoy it nonetheless, or otherwise I wouldn't do it. Hope all y'all doing well. I know I speak to you, some of you, here and there. I know a lot of y'all seem to watch every single video I put out, and you comment and you get involved, and I really appreciate that. I love seeing y'all's comments, even if it's just hello and it don't even pertain to the video. If this video is boring and it don't even interest you in the slightest, just the fact that you get in there and say hello and, you know, speak to me, that makes me feel good. I like talking to y'all. I think we're going to probably put the degree wheel on the clutch side because it seems to be a little easier. So I'm probably just going to take the clutch back off. But I'm going to go ahead and remove this handle just to get it out of my way. 7/16 bolts. These old saws are standard. Well, some stuff's standard anyway. The muffler bolts, the two main muffler bolts were 10 millimeter. But one thing I'm excited to see on this saw is it seems like most all the bolts are in this thing. It don't really seem like there's any missing bolts that I can tell. Everything seems to be on this thing, which is definitely a plus. So yeah, anytime you're working on a saw, especially these old ones, it's nice to be able to see a saw that's got all its bolts, because sometimes it can be difficult to source bolts for some, especially if it don't have them in it and you don't know exactly what they're supposed to be. So you have to go trying to see what was in it originally and trying to find one or find something that will fit and work. And if you're anything like me, you like to have matching bolts, so that way, you know, you don't have to have 3 different tools to take the handle off. Three different size sockets, I mean, just to take the handle off, or 3 different Allen wrenches. That's a little aggravating. We got one little concern here. I just noticed that bolt on the, just as I say that, the bolt on the pull start's missing, and the recoil bolts are different. Hopefully they're not in bad shape, or otherwise we'll have to source out some Allen bolts and rethread them or put helicoils in them, one or the two. That being said, on one of my 2100s, I know I keep going back on that, but working on this thing reminds me of my saws. And I kind of miss it. I kind of miss them. At times, they're fun saws to play with. They're torque machines, as you've seen in the video. They've got a lot of torque. They're not a high rever by no means, but they definitely have a lot of torque. They're great long bar saws or milling saws or whatever. If you got a lot of big wood, these things are awesome for that. If you didn't know, these saws have the same bore as a 395 XP or 395, 394. They're 56 millimeter bore, but these have a longer stroke than a 395 does. Bumping the camera here. Yep, these have a longer stroke. These are 99 cc's, and the 95 is only 94 cc's. So not a huge difference, but definitely helps in the torque department. Alright, got the handle off here. We're gonna set it off to the side. Alright, now we can go ahead and get this clutch off. Alright, clutch is off. Set all this off to the side. We're gonna go ahead and remove the carburetor so that way we'll have full access to our intake diamond. And to do that, we're going to use this 4mm Allen T-handle. Sorry if this video is a little boring, guys. Like I say, y'all just hear me ramble and talk about saws I've had, talk about specs and things on these old saws. It's one thing I've always liked to do, just talk about these old saws. I think that one was tight. Talk about these old saws and inform the folks that are interested but don't know on these old ones. I'm probably gonna have to have a 3mm too, because there's one bolt that holds that bracket. We'll probably be able to slip all that off without taking that bracket off, actually. Put the choke on so that way that'll slip by there. Whoop. One other little minor detail that tells me that this saw was taken care of, and it's very small, but it's important, is this rubber seal right here. This is what the air filter sits on, and a lot of the times this seal would rot or get torn off and would not get replaced. So your air filter, here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So your air filter sits here just like that, sits up in that little compartment there. And without that seal, you know, this is just plastic right here. So it'll seal a little bit, but without that seal, you know, it would let fines through past the air filter and straight into the carburetor and straight into the engine. So that's something that I've noticed about this saw, is it still has that seal. And I thought that was pretty cool that it's not missing. It's pretty important. I mean, If I was gonna do any heavy milling with one of these saws or anything of the sort, I would probably consider getting a velocity stack set up for this and putting like a pod style filter on it, like a uni foam filter. If I was gonna do any real heavy cutting with one of these. Those stock filters, they flow a lot because they're just a mesh screen. They don't have any flocking in them or anything like that. They flow really well. They're pretty good for performance, I would say. They don't really hinder airflow at all, but they just don't catch a lot of fines. And if you're milling, you know, that's basically all you're dealing with is a bunch of fines. A lot of dust. So I would, yeah, if I was gonna do any kind of milling with one of these, I would definitely consider getting a pod set up for one of these. On my first 2100, I actually did have a pod set up on it, but I didn't do it for milling. I just did it because I thought it was cool and I wanted it. So that was my reasoning. I didn't do any milling with it. But the cool thing about these is, you know, you've got a 2-piece cover, so this is your actual air filter cover, and when you run a stack, instead of cutting a hole in the cover, I just take these off. You know, I mean, this old stuff's kind of hard to find. And this really ain't, I mean, you can cut a hole in it. There's enough surface area here. You could cut a hole in it, but I don't know. I probably wouldn't, because you'd be pretty close to this bolt hole by the time you cut your hole and had your stack. I don't know. I just don't like cutting covers up. I mean, this one's in kind of rough shape. It's broke, but I don't know. It's still got the decal on it and whatnot. It's kind of cool. I don't know. Everybody's got their own opinions on things like that. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. But anywho, yep, if I was gonna do any sort of milling, that's what it would be. With one of these anyway. All right, got our carburetor off, throttle linkages off. We're gonna go ahead and pull our choke out so we don't lose it. Set our carburetor off to the side here, and the intake bolts on. So we're at a point now where we don't really have to worry about messing with that intake. We're just gonna leave it. It's bolted to the saw, so I don't really want to mess with that just yet. I'll deal with the intake when I get this off, but for right now, this will suffice to be able to get our timing numbers. And last but not least, we're gonna take the pull start cover off, just so we can rotate the flywheel with our hand and not with the pull starter, because you can't turn it slow enough for how you want to turn it so you can get accurate numbers. So that's what we are going to do here, and we don't have a fillet, so I got to get one. So be right back. All right, now we can remove this pull start cover here. That bolt there was not super tight. It was a little on the loose side, but it was holding, so let's hope that hole's in good shape. Let's hope. Like I say, otherwise we're gonna have to do some repairs on some bolt holes. Leaking gas. It's important to drain the tank too before you start working on these. I've got a bad habit of not doing that. Still got fuel in the tank. Another thing that I noticed about this is it's actually still got the air dam or the shield in there. This acts as kind of a spacer for the pull start, and it's an air dam too, slightly. It's not a really, really good one, but it's what these saws had, and it's just cool to see it still in the saw, because this was something else. I've messed with several of these, and a lot of these get tossed to the side or whatever, not put back in the saw, so it's kind of cool to see that still in the saw. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to these. Y'all just have to excuse me. We're gonna pop this spark plug out here. So So that way we get free full rotation, no hindrance on that. Anything that's going to hinder rotation, ease of rotation, we want to take care of. This thing had a new spark plug in it. Didn't even run long enough to really tell how she was running. Started to get a little dark right there. But she was running plenty rich till the muffler started coming loose. As you've seen, the piston was in excellent shape, so this saw here is in good shape. All right, got our degree wheel set up now, and so we're sitting on TDC right now, and we're gonna go ahead and get some numbers off of this thing. All right, so we are at 90, 100, 1, 2, 3. Looks like we're at about 104 on the exhaust on this baby. Here's what we have so far. We went ahead and got the squish. It's taut really big at 53,000, 54,000. It's right in there somewhere. I have not decarboned up the cylinder. I have not scraped the carbon off the cylinder yet because I haven't taken it apart yet. But this is just without taking this thing apart at all. Still with the base gasket, the way it comes from the factory, or the way the saw came. We're at 53 thousandths on our exhaust right now. We're at about 104. 104. All right, we didn't do any filming on it just because it's a little faster without, but here's what we got for stock numbers all finished up. This is, like I say, without taking it apart at all. It's still got the base gasket in it. Squish, we're at 53 thousandths. Intake, we're at 70 degrees. Exhaust, we're at 104. Transfers, we're at 125, and blow down, we have about 21 degrees of that. All in all, these numbers make for a nice torque machine, but I don't like that squish number. That's too much. So we're gonna tighten that up a little bit, up the compression. And as we do that, these numbers are gonna change. So we're gonna have to correct those. I'm not sure exactly what set of numbers we're gonna choose just yet, but we're gonna get this thing torn apart, do a little more inspecting, maybe see what our numbers are without a base gasket, yada, yada, yada. See if I like it. If not, we're gonna do some machining. We may end up doing machining anyway. Not sure yet. I just wanna see what the combustion chamber on this thing looks like before I make a final decision. So that's where we're at with this thing. I'm gonna get you set back up here, and I guess y'all can finish watching me tear this thing down. All right, guys. I didn't film it. I know I said I would, but I didn't, because I got caught up with some other stuff going on. I've been kind of busy doing other things, messing with other saws and whatnot. I had another saw that I forgot about that I needed to do a once over before it goes home. You're actually going to see a video on that, or, well, yeah, but anyway. We got the top end off the 2101, as you can tell. Piston is in really nice shape. That's oil residue right there that you see. It's still wet from running it. That red armor does a nice job at lubricating. I like that stuff. Bottom end's nice and wet, lubricated. Here's the cylinder. Let's get you into the light here so you can actually see the cylinder. Cylinder is in really nice shape. It's still got cross hatching in it. The transfers, that's just carbon dirt from having it apart. I was scraping on the exhaust earlier, trying to get the exhaust carbon out. Intake's really clean, transfers look nice. Combustion chamber is pretty fair in this thing. It's we're probably just going to correct the squish on this thing and then go from there, because I don't think it's going to take a whole lot to get this thing running really well. Just change the numbers up a little bit and get the compression up on it a little more, and this thing's going to run good. I'm going to wash it up a little bit, get some dirt off and whatnot, but probably going to I probably won't film it just so I can do it a little quicker. I've had this saw for a long time and I want to get it back to its owner, Mike. So I'm gonna try to get this thing taken care of. Might do a little filming here and there on some like as we grind / after grind. If I don't do it while I'm grinding, I'll probably show you a little bit after. I showed you all the numbers earlier, stock numbers with the gasket. Like I say, I'm probably going to retime it without the gasket, and then that's when I will pick a set of numbers and go from there and fully decide what I want to do with this thing. But yeah, everything seems to be in really nice shape, so this is going to be a great candidate for this. This cylinder is huge, if you can't tell. I'm 6'2" and I've got pretty big hands, and this thing, I mean, I've got my fingers stretched pretty much all the way for the most part. This thing's huge. 99 cc's, 56 millimeter. But anyway, here's your intake opening. Chamber, one other thing I want to mention, the chamber on this thing is quite a bit different than a 272, 266. It's similar but different. Of course, this saw is bigger and all, but it still resembles those saws. It's got the same style ports, rectangular ports. That was something that a lot of saw manufacturers did on these old saws. Really, depending on, it didn't really matter what brand. A lot of the old saws in general had those style of ports. That's why a lot of them weren't super high revers, and they just had gobs of torque down low. The windows on this thing are even pretty big, so that's a good thing. It's got nice big windows. But yeah, that's pretty much it for basically part 2 on this saw. We're gonna wrap this thing up, so I guess just stay tuned, and we'll probably have a part 3 for sure, and I don't know about a part 4, but we'll just see. Hopefully I can squeeze everything in the next video. But anyway, that's gonna be it for this one, guys. Like I say, sorry I didn't film it. We just had a lot of other stuff going on that tear down. I mean, y'all seen me pull cylinders off. You've seen bellhopper pull cylinders off, for those that watch bellhopper too, so you know. But anyway, that's the inside of a 2101 2100. They're pretty much the same on the inside. So yeah, that's that. Like I say, stay tuned for part 3. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I do a lot of saw stuff, so if you like saw stuff, saw videos, I do a lot of it. I like to get into everything, so just if you like what you see, yeah, just subscribe already. And don't forget to hit the bell for notifications. We'll catch you on the next one. Stay kind, be safe. Drew's Creations, over and out. Alright guys, we got the 2101 cylinder over here at Bellhoppers, and got him to cut the base for us. We're at 30 thousandths cut right now. We're gonna take 40 off of it.
So film the other part.
No, we didn't film the beginning of this, but once you see one cut, you've seen them all.
It's basically the same thing.
Pretty much. This is the final cut. 40 thou.
And everybody sets up different, so.
Everybody sets their lays up different, but this is how Bill Hopper does it.
Yeah, we don't get too fast.
Yeah, we're just taking 10 thou cuts at a time here. We want a nice finish when we're done, and we don't want nothing bad to happen. Cylinders are too rare to mess up.
And see, once we make this cut down to 0, I'll zero this one out, and then we'll go over here and we'll back up down and well, I'm showing y'all the numbers, but it equates to, once we get that cut, then we'll go back out here on the skirt. We'll go to the skirt, and then we'll cut back that way to our 0 and take that little bit of lip down off the skirt so it fits down in the cases.
Yeah.
And then we got to cut off the bottom of the skirt.
Yep, so that way the skirt don't hit the cases, because since we cut 40 off now, the skirt's going to go deeper into the cases.
Now I'm going to 0 this one. I'm going to leave this one at 0. Unlock it. Kind of get it this way. And then we're going to just go into our cylinder just a little bit farther into our skirt, because we didn't go completely down. We're going to come back through like this and go to our 0 mark on the y-axis. Now, we're going to back up just a hair. We're going to go down here and touch off on the bottom of the skirt. Now, I'm going to take that way, if I'm not careful, I'll take more than 40. I'm going to just tip in there a little bit and give you a little bit of a chamfer.
Makes it easier to get the piston in.
You'll probably have to go in there and relieve it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But that'll
Won't be no big deal.
That'll give you and there's clod hoppers under there. Now, I'll just pop this off here right quick.
Yeah.
Don't want you to see our top secret mandrel.
Top secret mandrel. There she is. There's 40 thou off the base and 40 thou off the skirt.
Mm-hmm. And them corduroy bits just do a beautiful job.
Yeah, she's shining. The light hits it and it's just a shining.
You just gotta watch that edge right there, because that thing's like a razor blade.
I'll probably go through some sandpaper and smooth some of that up.
So yeah, it's a little bit of taper, but I can't get in there with what I got. I need to make a tool to reach in there and do it. But if I make one out of high-speed steel...
He's talking about going in here and adding some chamfer up in this inside lip here, so that way when you go to put the piston rings in, it goes in easy and smooth and doesn't try to snag right here when you're trying to put that in.
It makes it a lot easier.
Yep.
And I might can figure out a way to do it, but I need one of them small diamonds that's on a 90 degree. They reach up in there, and that would put a good chamfer on it.
Yep.
Most everything I got's too large for that.
Yep. There you go, Mr. Mike Fleming. We're on the way to getting your saw together, buddy. Yep, somebody's got their initials carved in the cylinder, MH.
I might carve mine in it too.
Well, he knows you too, so he might not mind.
I'll leave that up to Andrew. He's the one pouring it. I just decked it.
Well, you had a part in this too, because you machined the cylinder for me.
Well, you know how it goes.
You had a part in this too. Well,
I like it.
Yep. There she is, folks. We'll try to get to the porting and final assembly when it's pretty soon, hopefully. Have this thing back together and eating some wood. Hope y'all enjoyed that. Over and out.